I've thought about that, and I'm just going to be honest. There is two personalities that have always have admired,
Mhm.
or well, admired or have had an impact in my life.
Mhm.
One is the Sheikh Uthman Fodio.
Mhm.
I I find I find his life amazing, and he's the whole thing for me is the story of a success.
Mhm.
Is the story of a success.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Talking with Teachers. Today we have with us Shaykh Ali Laraki. Shaykh Ali holds a degree or ijaza in Sharia and Usul al-Din by the European Faculty of Islamic Sciences located in France. He has studied Islamic sciences with several traditional scholars from Morocco and Tunisia. He has translated into Spanish and commented on multiple works, including the Risala of Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, the Hikam of Ibn Ata'illah, the Ajurrumiyyah of Ibn al-Jarrum, the Dala'il al-Khayrat of al-Juzuri, the Burda al-Busiri, and among other works, such as the Practical Guidebook, which is a commentary on the Murshid al-Mu'in of Ibn Ashir, among other many works and writings that he has published. He has lived and taught in South Africa, Spain, the USA, and the United Kingdom. He has been the Imam Khatib in Newark, New Jersey, in Madrid, Spain, the Jamia Mosque of Cape Town, South Africa, and has lectured in Islamic studies at the Dallas College, and has been the Imam Khatib of the Ihsan Mosque in Norwich, where he taught Tafsir, Ash'ari Aqidah, and the Maliki Fiqh. He also teaches at the Meme Institute, located and established in Leicester, UK, in 2011. It grants me great pleasure to bring to the screen Shaykh Ali Laraki. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh.
Inshallah.
Um,
Really, yes, tafaddal, Sheikh.
it's just, if you allow me, a couple
Yes,
of corrections.
inshallah. Okay.
Yeah, my name is pronounced Laraki, but really it's Al Iraqi.
Yes, yeah, I know.
This is how Moroccans pronounce it. They say Laraki,
Right.
Laraki, but
La
it is
Iraqi.
Al Iraqi.
Yes. Yeah.
And Leicester is actually pronounced Leicester.
Oh,
This is
really?
an
So,
English thing, all right?
okay. Thank you for that correction as well. MashaAllah. Yeah, well, let you know how uneducated I am.
Oh, it would have happened to me. I mean, I remember back in the time I used to say sword until someone corrected me and told me
Right,
there are no
right.
swords in English, just sword.
Yeah, right. Like Kanak or Nak is it's
Yeah,
not Kanak, it's
exactly.
Nak, yeah.
Yeah.
Inshallah. Well, alhamdulillah, Sheikh. It really is a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak to you.
Likewise.
Right. It's been a number of years since we've communicated, and I really do appreciate you agreeing
I
to an
think I
interview.
was in Leicester when I phoned you.
Yeah, yeah. And Lester, right. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Barakallah fiqh. Yeah, a number of people, of course, are familiar with your practical guidebook. I actually was unaware that you actually lived in the U.S. at one time in Newark, New Jersey. So that was
Yes,
really a shock. Yeah.
yes. For 1 year, I lived in, and I was an imam then. Yes,
Right, right,
yes.
mashallah, mashallah.
In
So,
Newark, New Jersey. Yeah, yeah.
mashallah, very rich history that you have there. So, and I wanted to begin by having you speak a little bit about your family background as well. Of course,
Hmm.
many of us know that you're Moroccan, but apparently, you've grown up in a lot of other places as well, right? So, and what was it like growing up, and what was your family like, and how did you sort of start on this path of knowledge?
Okay. I was brought up in Tangier, Morocco.
Mm,
I was brought up in Tangier, Morocco, and but I always, because my mother is Spanish.
mhm,
My mother's from Spain.
mashallah.
Was from Spain, rahimahullah. and Morocco and Spain are very close geographically, and we had a house in actually in Madrid, and I've been in between both countries, and that's how I grew up between both countries. But my parents have always been based in Morocco, so most of the time I've spent it here in Tangier. So
Is that where you're located right now? You're in
yeah,
Tangier?
I'm back in Morocco.
Okay.
Allah has brought me back.
Mhm.
My family circumstances have brought me back
Mhm.
to where I grew up, Tangier.
Right. Right.
Alhamdulillah.
Right. So most of your life has been spent in Tangier, and
No,
is it?
most of my life. No, my young years, and then lately.
Mm.
So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, yes.
But so is it mainly Spain or UK? Where outside of Morocco?
Where I've spent 20 years in Spain
Okay.
and
Okay.
20 years in the UK.
so
So
so so you're how many languages you speak? So we know you know Arabic, you know English, and I'm assuming you know Spanish. So what else?
French, you have
French.
to know
Okay.
French. When you're,
Yeah.
yeah, you go to school here in Morocco, you end
Mhm.
up, whether
Mhm.
you like it or not,
Mhm. Yeah, sure.
end up learning French, yes.
Right. So your last name, Laraki, Al Iraqi, right? So I'm
And,
assuming that your family roots go back to Iraq, right?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Mhm.
Uh,
At least
my
from your father's side. From your father's
Yes,
side. Yeah.
exactly. From my father's side,
Mhm.
you can trace the origins of my family coming to Morocco and establishing themselves in Fes, because Al Iraqi is a Fesi surname.
Mhm. Mhm.
In the, I would say, late 14th century.
Mhm.
And in fact, the first one who arrived from Iraq is mentioned in the Rihla of Ibn Battuta.
Oh, really? Mashallah. What's his name? Mhm.
It's just a very quick mention.
Mhm.
It's mentioned there.
Mhm.
He mentions that I think he meets him somehow. Ibn Battuta met
Mhm.
him, and you can find also in the A'lam of Zarakli, it's a famous
Mhm.
book about
Mhm.
biography, is also mentioned there.
Mhm.
First one who came, he was actually called Al-Iraqi Al-Karbala'i. The origin was from
Mashallah. Karbala.
Karbala'i.
Mhm.
But as far as I know, we have always been Sunnis, at least.
Well, I was going to ask you that question.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
say,
I
does
know.
that mean
I
that
know.
your roots?
It's the next thing to ask. No,
Right.
but I've never heard of my family not being Malikis and Sunnis. At
Mashallah.
least the saddle tradition has remained from.
Subhanallah. 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 Yeah. So would you say, so I mean, so you are raised in a somewhat religious family focused on knowledge, or this is something that you independently
I
develop
would
an interest in?
I would say yes and no, because when you send me the questions, I said, how can I answer this question? Well, yes and no.
Mm,
Not the immediate family were not ulama,
mhm,
but the non-immediate family were. I mean, my father always had connection with one of his uncles, or he used to call him uncle, but I think it was a bit of a distant uncle who was a qadi actually.
mm, mhm,
Qadi and Qadi educated in the traditional Qarawiyin way, the old
mhm,
way,
mhm,
and and in the history of the family, because it's a Husseini family,
mhm.
you will
Mashallah.
find that
Sharif.
it's a family with qudat and ulama, uh,
Mhm,
but um, the religious element in my family was my grandmother, was my father's mother,
mhm,
rahimahullah, who was a murid of Sheikh Muhammad bin.
mhm.
So,
Mashallah.
so if we say religious family, but in the the more immediate was the field of tasawwuf, right?
Right. So as a Husseini, so you're probably related to Sheikh Muhammad Ninawi.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
When we talk among each other, by the way, he speaks Spanish perfectly.
Oh, really? I didn't know Sheikh Ninawi knew Spanish.
Yeah,
SubhanAllah.
yeah. And he calls me primo. Primo means cousin. Cousin.
Cousin. Okay.
Another primo.
Yeah, primo,
Cousin.
mashallah.
Yes.
SubhanAllah. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I interviewed him maybe.
I assume I can drink my Moroccan tea.
Yeah, of course. It wouldn't be authentic without that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I interviewed Sheikh Ninawi maybe about a year ago, and so he's one of my early guests, and of course, I've appreciated him for many years, and have great respect for him. So your studies in Islam started how early did you start?
I will say that I started to study seriously the ulum sharia when I was around 20 years old.
Okay.
And I have to say, because I mentioned this qadi from our family, it was an encounter between my father and the qadi who not started, but it was the suggestion of this qadi who told my father, you should help your son and support him in the field of ulum sharia. And from that time, alhamdulillah, may Allah reward both of them. I found full support from my father. الفضل يرجع إليهم أو إليهم.
ما شاء الله.
The whole.
رحمه إن شاء الله. نفع الله بكم. نفع الله بكم.
آمين اللهم.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. So now you work at, well, at least your bio says that you've been the main teacher at what is called the Meme Institute. Can you speak a little bit about that? What is the Meme Institute, and how does it operate and things like that?
Well,
in Leicester, right?
Sorry,
Leicester. Not in Leicester, but in Leicester, right?
In Leicester.
I'm sorry, Leicester. Okay, I got to get it right. Yeah. In Leicester, right? In Leicester. Yeah.
Well, the Meme Institute was an idea that was suggested to me to start this platform by a friend of mine from Leicester. And we were saying, how should we call it? And we said, I said, I think we should call it meme, because meme is the first letter of the name of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also, meme of first letter of Muslim, of Mu'min, of Muhsin, of Medina, of Malik, of Muwatta, of the Mukhtasar of Khalil. I said, that's it.
Yeah, makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Of Morocco.
Morocco, yeah. So
that's how it started, and it was a platform to make public courses and activities, etc.
So right now, currently, how many students would you say that you have?
Well, I'll tell you, it started with courses, and then like the traditional courses, online. Now we can say traditional online courses.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Online.
Sort of oxymoron. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
An oxymoron. But then I saw that the real benefit is one-to-one. Is one-to-one, because I'm not saying if you cannot get the whole thing, you don't leave the whole thing. But I saw that to be more serious in حصول العلم, in really getting the benefit of deepening into knowledge, the one-to-one format is better.
Yes.
So I stopped doing this kind of format with a lot of people logging in and all that, and concentrated on one-to-one. That's how I know I now operate. Although I also teach with other institutions, like for example Lot Tree. I don't, maybe you're aware of Lot Tree. I
Yes,
think
I've heard of it. Yeah.
in London, and also one Spanish-speaking institution based in Argentina. We do this kind of multiple people logging in.
Okay.
But my main time is with one-to-one students. Yes.
Right. Okay. Oh, inshallah. Yeah. So so it's so the Meme Institute is again that's your particular you founded this. This is something
Yeah.
that you
Yes.
founded, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Right. So I know you've actually also studied with Sheikh Abdul Qadir Sufi, rahimahullah, right?
No.
And how did that come about? How did you meet him, and how long did you spend in his presence and things like that? Yeah.
Oh, I have to go back in time, but I think I met him when I was 21 years old, something like that. So now I'm 59.
MashaAllah.
It's 38 years ago, right? Yeah, until he passed away.
الله يطول لك العمر.
I mean,
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, of course, I've interviewed a number of people who've actually also had a connection with the Sheikh, such as Abdul Samad Clark. I've interviewed also Sida Hassan Spiker, and even though he's a bit younger, from the younger generation, and also Allahumma salli Muhammad, Omar Vadillo, Alama Vadillo as well. I've also interviewed, right? So, and so he's definitely had a major impact on a lot of the current Western people in the West, right? Who actually are in a position of leadership. Of course, that also include like people like Sheikh Hamza Yusuf and Dr. Omar Farouk Abdullah and Abdul Hakim Winters or Abdul Hakim Murad, and a lot of people don't know that. So it's definitely reaping the benefits of all of your work of all of you, right? And definitely Allah have mercy on him as well. And so so the adoption of the Maliki school, of course, is natural because you're Moroccan. There's Spain, and then there's Tanja, right? And
it will be a strange thing a Moroccan not being a Maliki. It would be a very strange. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And in some ways, it's for an African as well, right? Overall, right? The West African, right? In particular, West African, right?
Yes.
Sub-Saharan African. Right?
In fact, if you allow me an anecdote that happened once, when I was that year that I spent in the United States, that in the mosque I was imam there, Masjid Al Khaliq was his name. I think still operates. They had like a newsletters, and I wrote a small article speaking a bit about the Maliki Madhab, and I wrote something. I said it's difficult for me to understand. I can't get around the fact that the African Americans, the natural approach to Islam will be to the shores of West Africa. So how can these people jump all the way and arrive to Riyadh? From Riyadh with another version, and try to spread it and tell the people, oh, you are all wrong. Actually, it has to be this way. I said, I can't get it. How there must be something. I'm missing something, or something is wrong in the whole thing. And this man, there was a man from Senegal who spent many years in New York. And after probably 1 week that newsletter went out, he came and knocked at the door. I say, I'm looking for someone called Ali Laraki. I say, yeah, it's me. Yeah, oh, I wrote this, and I said, oh, finally one person understands me. he was he was a Senegalese, but who spent many years in the United States, and he came and he embraced me.
MashaAllah.
Yes, he was a member of the Muridiya Tariqa.
Right. Yeah.
So he embraced me, and he became a good friend of mine from since.
Yeah, but that's a really keen observation. The one would think that was that African Americans would naturally adopt would naturally adopt the method, and in particular, if they were to adopt the method, would be the Maliki school due to the historical connection to West Africa. And I think that, like, I grew up. My parents, they entered Islam through the Nation of Islam, following Elijah Muhammad, and then they followed his son, Imam Warasadi Muhammad, rahimahullah. And so like, as people transitioned into Islam, it seems that the particular message that was being taught was that, that Islam is a religion of justice, is about equality, and sort of like we had sort of like a very American mentality, right, as well, right? Because the Nation of Islam, they were, suit and bow tie, things like that, had to develop its own culture, But then the Sunnis were, first introduced to Islam through the Pakistani community, and in particular the Ahmadiyya movement. And so most of us were default Hanafis too, because all the books that we were reading, were published by people who were Hanafis, even though the books didn't say this is a Hanafi school, right? So we didn't have this sense of, what a madhab was, well, not most of us, but I'm thinking about coming our own experience and people around me when I was growing up, but eventually we start to learn about madhab, and it's like, oh, we should respect them. They're something that we respect, So among the Sunnis, there wasn't a strong racial identity. Among the nation, there was, but it was very American, right? Sort of American centric, even though there was talk of Africa, right? But it wasn't like, a sense that, but that we need to embrace the scholastic tradition at the same time, But you'll see, like, today, that there actually are more and more African Americans who are embracing West African sort of iteration of Islam, a cultural sort of iteration of Islam. So a lot of African Americans are Tijani. Many of them are visiting the shores of Africa and Ghana and Senegal and other places like that. So, but that's a very keen insight, that one would assume that we would sort of embrace that. But I think that it has a lot to do with just the evolution of the community, and the sort of the raising of our consciousness of towards those things. And so, as it was less racial among Sunnis until now, right, that probably explains why it was easy for us to say, well, let's go with the Saudis, because they're, they're coming with it in the message that empowers people. They say they ask people for their evidence. We've been oppressed by people, so, and you want to feel empowered, so they say, well, the Saudis made us feel empowered. And so they say, well, the madhabs, we don't need to follow anything blindly. The Quran and Sunnah is sufficient. Anytime someone tells you something, they should give you dalil for what they say. And again, that's in my sort of psychoanalysis, right? And of course, naturally, I could be wrong. Right?
Well, you know, as I know, that is a very shallow approach.
Yes,
the moment
right.
you scratch a little bit, you see there isn't
right.
any
No substance, right?
scholastic basis. And I have to say that, and you correct me if I'm wrong, even with Imam Warathuddin Muhammad, there was always this connection with Morocco, because if I'm not mistaken, he wrote a book about the prayer and all that, and the book was prefaced by Na'alim from Tangier.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
who was a Malika, and
Mm.
he was a Darqawi as well.
Yes. Right.
That
Yes.
connection was there.
Hmm.
That connection was there. And
Yeah.
and and another observation.
Hmm.
Yes, you said the evolution, and then of the community, then the people become Tijani.
Hmm.
Well, we know where is the center of the Tijaniya.
That's right. There's a Morocco.
So,
Yeah.
so there's no escape for you
Yes.
people.
Right. I know. Totally. Yeah. Well,
You
we
have,
had. Yeah.
you are linked to us.
Yes. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And
We're part
maybe
of you, and you're part of us. We were the first to recognize the independence of
America.
the United States.
That's right. Yep. Right. And then one of the early proto-Islamic groups was the Moorish Science
Yeah,
Temple. Right.
yeah,
So they said that no, we're not. We're Moroccan. They actually used to say that
yes,
we are
yes,
Moroccan.
yes, yes, yes.
Right. They say the first slaves to be brought to the American shores were actually from Morocco. Right. So
Mhm.
I forget his name. So Allah Muhammad. He is actually from. I forget his name. Estevanico. They get something. Estevanico is his
Oh,
his
Stefanico.
Spanish
Yeah,
name.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
He
yeah,
was the slave of a Spanish
yeah.
conquistador or something like that.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it was Moroccan.
From Zamor. I think from
That's
Zamor.
cool. Yeah, that's
Zamor.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Zamor. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Inshallah.
yeah, yeah.
Inshallah. Yeah. Well, Sheikh, I mean, what do you think? Sort of change the subject a little bit.
Hmm.
In your view, I mean, what would you consider to be like the greatest challenge that Muslims have today, right? I mean, worldwide, right? Of course, every nation may have different challenges, but on the worldwide scale, in your view, what do you think is our greatest challenge?
That question that was really the word today
Yeah.
m- make me a bit worried because it's so fluid. The today is changing so quickly every
Yes.
day that I don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
But in fact, is the fact that is things are changing so fast and so quickly
Hmm.
that first of all we have to be aware of that,
Hmm.
and second is for the especially for the Muslims in the West, all over the world, but for the Muslims in the West is that we are now witnessing the collapse of our civilization. I
Yes.
mean,
Hmm.
the, everybody says it,
Hmm.
and it's clear. I mean, the moral collapse is there, and after the moral collapse will come the material collapse.
Hmm.
The morality is the ruh of something. If when he dies, then the whole body dies. We know,
Hmm.
is it even in a hadith?
Yes.
So we've seen how they're morally the, has collapsed, and how
Yeah.
the whole civilization is collapsing.
Hmm.
So um, it's it's a it's an interesting time.
Hmm.
People has to go when these things happen.
Hmm.
People have to go back to the basics and attach themselves and cling to it with the strength, because uh, we don't know. There's no clarity about what is going to happen uh,
Yes. Right. Hmm.
everywhere. So this is one of the biggest challenges.
Hmm.
It's scary in one sense, but in another
Hmm.
sense, it's an opening. There's always openings. These kind of
Right.
nations are where you don't know what is going to happen to you, to your family, to your country.
Yes. Hmm.
Uh, it's an opening, and puts the people close to Allah, because at the end of the day, uh, he's the one to whom we have to turn for
Hmm.
anything, and for everything.
Yes. Right.
So that means that that an spiritual awakening
Hmm.
is coming, or
Yes. Right.
is close. Allah is pulling the rag from under our feet,
Mm.
because he wants us to be close to him and to turn to him.
Yes. Right. Right.
This is in one sense it's uncertainty, but in another sense is good news.
Yes, right. No, I agree, Sheikh. I mean, that's it reminds me of the hadith, عجبا لأمر المؤمن لا يقضي له لا يقضي الله له شيء إلا كان خيرا له.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
the affair of the believer is amazing. That anything that Allah decrees for him is better, is good for him, right? So, and I've had the conversations with people about uh, even people in the West who seem to be attempting to return the fitrah, right, in a lot of ways, right? So and what I mean by that is, for instance, when we see the resistance to um, this new transgender ideology, for instance, there's a lot of pushback against that. Of course, people tolerated homosexuality and normalized it, and but then when the transgender ideology started to emerge, and then people started to see, okay, children are being harmed physically,
yeah,
by having body parts chopped off and things like that, you know,
yeah.
that that a lot of people just they reacted a certain way. Like in America, they talk about, okay, well, men shouldn't be in women's sports, women shouldn't be women's spaces. There's a movement called the trad wife movement, traditional wife, where women are abandoning feminism and actually saying, well, no, I'm okay with men taking care of me, right? So that I'm not in competition with men. So there is a movement back in that direction, right? Even among a lot of non-Muslims, and unfortunately, I see a lot of Muslims who still don't see this and realize that there actually is much more of a convergence happening between the political right and traditional Islamic values, right? Where a lot of Muslims, like in America, for instance, most Muslims in America actually are with the left, right, and have a tendency to endorse anything that happens on the left,
Mm,
um, but ignore the fact that our religion, it actually calls us to a certain type of moral philosophy, or moral type of response, right? And
mm,
again, it's not to say that it's all only on the right, but it's largely on the right happening. A lot of these sort of this move back to fitrah, like I would say, and so yeah, in consideration of all of the political crises and of course the moral crises we have, I do see an awakening happening among many Muslims as well, naturally, but it's really nice to see it happening among non-Muslims, which I would say is it provides us with good common ground, right, to have sort of robust conversations about the direction we want to see society move, right, regardless of what may happen in the coming weeks or months. We see, of course, what's happening in Iran right now, and all the political chaos that's ensuing because of course, multiple reasons. I don't want to blame it only on the West, but
mm,
it's I think that's a tendency of Muslims to do, is that it's only the fault of the West, but there's
mm.
actually a lot of mismanagement of issues that is happening, and there's enough blame to go around, I would say, right? Mhm. Yeah.
So, what was it a question or a comment?
No, that was just more of a comment, right? Of course,
Okay,
I was
sorry.
again, I was just sort of
No,
trying
no.
to build off of what you
Yeah.
said naturally, So, but
Yes. Yes.
it's um, so yeah. So I it's really enjoyed the conversation overall, but I also wanted to ask you about any particular people in your life who you think should be magnified, and more people should know more about them. By people in your life, people if you benefited from, people from the past, or the recent past, the distant past, or the present, contemporaries, people who you think that others should know more about and could benefit from, who you think that they're often marginalized or just simply don't play a significant role in our lives today?
Well, I've thought about that, and I'm just going to be honest. There's two personalities that have always have admired, or admired or have had an impact in my life. One is the Sheikh Uthman Fodio. I find his life amazing, and he's the whole thing for me is the story of a success. Is the story of a success, meaning he was when he was started preaching. It was a situation of corruption, syncretism, moral decay, and he came he tried to purify the deen and teach the people the deen, and he was like we can't say Islamic revival because the society was not fully Islamic. He had to launch a jihad, actually.
Yes, right.
So it's not it didn't start in an Islamic society, in a kind of a syncretic situation. But it's the story of this success. I mean, his success in establishing, in teaching the deen, and a correct, at least from my point of view, and I think you will share it with me, a correct perspective and position. He was from the Qadiriyya Sufi. He was Ash'ari in Aqidah, Maliki in Fiqh, and it was the complete, I will say, the complete package, meaning the spiritual, the scholastic. I don't like to use the word academic, maybe better scholastic, and the political struggle or renewal until he created the Sokoto Caliphate, or established the Sokoto Caliphate, which is not only like it's not the story of a Sufi sheikh or of a great alim who left a lot of books. It was the whole thing. It represents very close the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet was not only a spiritual teacher, but he also changed. He established justice and established a society ruled by the laws revealed by Allah. He did it, and he's amazing. And his legacy through his, I think his son Muhammad Bello and his grandmother, so rich, intellectually rich, and I think that the Arabs missed him, and they all Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab. They should have gone to him because he was around the same time.
Yes, right, exactly. Yeah,
he was around the same time. And they all went to Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, and I think they got it wrong. At least we North Africans, we should say sorry. We've got the right. How do you say, the reviver of the deen? He's him, you know. And unfortunately, you don't see a lot of Arab people who are aware of that. Although I've met people who have done the PhDs on this Sokoto Caliphate, and I have a friend who his PhD was about it here in Morocco. So he is a key figure. He should be and he should be a key figure. We have somehow maybe in the West has been more work about it, and the African American community is more aware than North African or the Arab community. But I think it should be more
More studied. Yeah.
Or studied more. He's that revivist or revivalist, however you call it. That we should look too, because he achieved the full
Yes. Right.
package. So for me, it has been very influential in many aspects. And I remember that someone in America gave me a copy of his وجوب الهجرة على العباد, and it was mind blowing for me. The whole thing,
Yeah. MashaAllah. Rahimahullah. Rahimahullah. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, has had that effect on me. And the second was Sheikh Abdul Qadir Sufi, rahimahullah.
Amen.
Maybe has not been very well understood by other people. Some
Yes.
people, because of um, because he was always although he was a political analyst as well. He was always a Sufi Sheikh. So if you approach him, the rules of engagement with him, if you approach him as a murid, was that he was the Sheikh.
Yes.
And and well, we don't need to get into the rules, but يسحبوا شيخا عارف المسالك.
في طريقه المهالك.
That has been always has been first that, then a political analyst or
Yeah.
is his
So,
criticism
social commentator, political
yeah,
analyst.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's nowadays people are realizing all this is anti-usury and pro gold and silver
Yes. Right.
that teachings that he used to have. Now they are arising. There's a lot of people talking about that and realizing the critique of modernity and the collapse of democracy and the falsehood. I mean, it's so clear nowadays.
Yes. Right.
The moral bankruptcy of all this Western world is being manifested now, and he said it many years ago.
Yes.
So yeah, I have to say that Allah has privileged.
None. I think you're the two people you chose to highlight are excellent choices. Excellent, choices, and I do agree with you actually that these two personalities, rahimahumullah, that that they will become more appreciated, I think, over time, right? Because even I really have to admit myself, even with respect to Sheikh Abdul Qadir Sufi, rahimahullah, that I didn't fully understand him, right? And I can't really say I fully understand him now, right? But because I've dealt with, of course, many of his followers over the years, and I guess I was somewhat deterred from delving deeper into studying his life and his ideas, and I've definitely come to appreciate, especially his ideas on the establishment of the gold dinar and the importance of economic independence for the Ummah, and trying to break free of the system of economic slavery that the world has found itself in, right? And it seems that we're sort of plunging deeper into that with the normalization of digital money, among other things, right? And so yeah, mashallah. Yeah. Barakallahu feek. Yeah. One final question I have for you, Sheikh.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. How can people follow your work? Right. Now, I know you said that you don't like, online, sort of teaching, but you do teach online a little bit, but you prefer one-on-one interaction, but, if people want to follow your work, your publications, among other things,
I
how
do
can do that?
things because I'm of a maybe I should say of an older generation still use Facebook. So in fact, we communicated again through
Facebook. Yeah.
So I do post if there is any new development. I post whatever is interesting in my Facebook wall. So that's how people can follow my work or any events that I'm involved in or any new things. Yeah, that's how. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And your books and your articles, people can find those like Google search or the Amazon.
Well, the commentary on the Murshid al-Mu'in,
the practical guidebook. Yeah.
Exactly. I never remember the title. I don't know.
I
don't know
know
why.
how it is, Sheikh.
Thank you very much. I never remember because it's a difficult title. Practical guidebook. Yes. Yes, it's available in Amazon, and the other translations I made, they're either you mentioned the translation of the Burda, but that was into Spanish, or Ajrumiya was into Spanish. These are either out of print or they have never been printed. But they've been done. They were done and sent to publishers, but for whatever reason they were not printed. But I'm working in different for the moment in a couple of projects. I prefer not to talk much about them, so let them be a surprise, inshallah. If Allah keeps me alive and I am able to finish them, then people will I ask Allah that people benefit from it. But I'm still working on projects, and I'm close, inshallah, to publish a book, and they will find out in Facebook, inshallah.
Inshallah. Well, Sheikh Ali, really was a pleasure, and looking forward to other opportunities. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. And
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be here, and may Allah make us meet physically, inshallah.
Ameen, inshallah. Khair. Well, thank you for your time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa
rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Subscribe to Lamppost Education Initiative on YouTube and Spotify.